They weren't his neurologists. They had never examined him. But, people who are caught in this idea that the brain is fixed, the pre-neuroplastic view, that its circuitry is formed and finalized in childhood. I call it the doctrine of the unchanging brain because it's like a doctrine. It's an abstract concept. Have a lot of difficulty accepting that activity of various kinds, mental and physical, might actually alter brain structure clinically.
A lot of people suffer from autism, ADHD. It's pretty common these days. You say that this theory can be applied there as well. How?
Now, you might have noticed that autistic children often cover their ears. They find loud sound, certain kinds of sounds very, very unpleasant, and they're hypersensitive to them. And when you walk into a room, it's usually very noisy, and then you can sort of focus in on various conversations, and that's because the ear has within it an auditory zoom, like a zoom lens on a camera. And that auditory zoom is not working in a lot of autistic children. And so what they hear are not the higher frequencies of human speech, but the low sounds of predators, the kinds of things that you hear when you go see Jaws, and there's that, that low rumbling sound. So it's possible to use music that's been modified to actually train that auditory zoom and the brain circuitry involved with that.
You've seen kids helped with this?
Yes.
What kind of difference does it make?
One kid who had moderate to severe autism, who basically had no language, wasn't communicating at all with his parents, no eye contact, temper tantrums all the time. His parents were told he'd be institutionalized, and they were brokenhearted that they had no relationship with him, but that was the hardest part. In the first week of treatment, he slept for the first time the parents could remember. He looked up to his mother after the first or second treatment. On the second day, he hugged his father for the first time spontaneously. I mean,
so then why doesn't everybody do this? Why don't all the parents with autistic kids come and...
Why don't we live in a medical utopia where cutting-edge treatments are translated?
Why aren't all the doctors recommending this then?
I think people are too much under the influence of the idea that autism is simply genetic as opposed to a genetic environment interaction. Two, the studies showing the underconnection in autism in the autistic brain are all very recent. Three, this idea of talking to the brain in its own language is new, it's cutting edge. I mean, I'm writing about very cutting edge things, so it takes a while for these things to roll out, and there are still people who were educated, as was I, to believe that the brain is hardwired.